hit hard like sledgehammers. Shit with that platinum grammar. I am a diamond cluster hustler. Queen, shit a cream, shit killer for my in by any means. It murder scene, it clean, it disease free. Shit check it. I write a rhyme melt in your mouth like M&M's. Roll with the mafia. Remember them? Tell them when I used to mess with gentlemen. Straight up apostles. Now strictly looking to jostle. Killing it in for the figure. How you figure? Your cheddar would be better. Beretta inside the Beretta. Nobody do it better. Bet I wet ya like hurricanes and typhoons. Got buffoons eating my pizza while I watch cartoons. Sleep till noon. Rap pan beers here. Baby fingers beware. Mostly dope she wear. Frank killed lies for 1.5. While you struggle and strive, we pick which bins to drive. The mafia, you wanna be him? Most of y'all niggas can't eat without per diem. I'm rich, I'ma stay that. Who you wanna be hugging? Roll with chicken that be thuggin', buggin'. In the tunnel in SO, sippin' espresso, cappuccino with Nino. On a mission for the Lucci Crino. I used to wear Moschino, but every shit got it. Now I rock colorful mints because my pockets stay on it. C note after C note, Frank Boat, Hole 15 plus Decatur. You think you're greater?
You think you got some audacity? You sold $1 million, now you have for me. Get off my
Check my pitch for cynic persona. And I still stick your moms for her stocks and bonds. I got that bond exam. A good ice shade with hardcore flows to keep it in the rock. Sippin' Zippendales up in Chippendale. Shopping Bloomingdale's for Prada bags. Female Dundada hats. No problem, splitting cream with my team. It's straight like 915. You know what I mean? Cruise the Diamond District with my biscuit. Floss in my Rolex British. I'm rich, I'ma stay that.
Woo, woo, woo. All right, everybody. Peace, peace, peace. It is the guy with the bow tie checking in with you live for another edition of Business with Benefits. Thank you, folks, for being here. To my right, you have Tara Furiani. How you doing, Tara? Get that sip before we get started.
Cheers. Let me sipping, Daryl.
I had to pick that song because you're the queen of saying whatever on LinkedIn. So I wanted to represent with you with that song. Hope it was okay.
Thank you. I loved it. I appreciate that. And I love your intro, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's been a crafting of time. Shout out to Nick Nelson for making me get bougie with Canva. So that's on him.
Nice.
But I want to say thank you to hashtag Team Live, hashtag Team Replay. However you consume the content, we appreciate it. Please let us know below where you're watching from and how you're watching. Where do you have some people checking in here? We got catch up real quick. We have Kim Freeman. She's Team Live. Kim, thanks for jumping in here. We have Lucic, so she's Team Tara. She changed my hashtags. Team Tara now. And lastly, we hit it. She's from Chicago. Is that Chicago, or she's in a chat? Maybe something else.
From Clubhouse to LinkedIn. We were on Clubhouse today. Yep.
Okay. I'm not up with the acronyms, so thank you. We was talking about Clubhouse right before this. That explains everything.
We're all over social media today. So Lucic and I, we're Lucic where I am. Lucic is where Lucic is. I am. So.
Hey, got your tribe there. Then we got she said, thank you for the bow tie compliment. My wife taught me how to tie a necktie into a bow tie. Don't tell anybody, but it's a necktie. But thank you for that. Marlon Addison, good friend from New Jersey, said, "What's up, peeps?" Marcello, hey, my guy, Team Live. Marcello and I do a show called Link Lunch. We got to get back into that pretty soon. Everybody's checking in now. Am I queen? Wait a minute. Now that she's here, hold on. All right, I got a little announcement here from my queen. My wife and I are talking about something new that changed in her life a day or so ago, we'll say. And I wanted to announce it here as a public announcement. So hold on 1 second, Sarah, while I play this real quick. All right.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you. The family has grown. I'm crazy enough to have 4 kids now, so we're done. That's it.
What?
She told me this is it.
Just 3 more, you can catch up to me.
Yeah, I saw you got a lot. I can't keep up. But thank you, and thank you to my wife. She's still taking care of Maya right now. So it happened yesterday, obviously, so she's still recovering. But I appreciate you, Queen, for growing the family. I can't do it by myself, so I appreciate what you're doing. But now that we have that, and I wanted to have you do that as well because you represent a lot for women. Your title is not the HR lady. So for the people that don't know who you are, let them know who you are and what your gift is for the world.
Will do. Hello, I am Tara Furiani, not the HR lady, and I really kind of talk about all things people without any bullshit. I get into the tough topics that people just don't like to discuss, from racism to misogyny to harassment to bullying to ageism to sexism. You name it, I talk about it very candidly with my own experiences. I was a chief people officer in the corporate world internationally for 12 years. I've been in the world of business for 20. And it's about time we start affecting change in the workplace. And so that's the mission of what I do, what my company's about, and sort of what I preach on LinkedIn, which is inclusivity and diversity of thought and giving people a space to talk about the things that are for too long not talked about.
Yeah, that's why I love what you do, because I was thinking for a long time, we always say, don't bring that to work, or on LinkedIn, there's always, don't post politics stuff on LinkedIn, don't post personal things on LinkedIn. And I've been on the platform for 10 years. Yeah, they're like, yeah, this isn't Facebook. And you would hear that for a long time. And a while ago, I just started rapping on LinkedIn. It's like, it's part of who I am, whatever. And colleagues were like, are you sure that's okay? And I'm thinking, like, that's who I am anyway. So why do we have to hide this? So in your experience, you see what's happened in the last week. We've done decades of not talking about things. So do you think the reason everything kind of culminated on January 6th had something to do with the fact of we don't talk about these things openly enough?
100%. I mean, do you see how many corporate CEOs, executives, leadership, police officers, fire chiefs, do you see how many people are infused in work who are now being arrested by the FBI for like staging a coup and an attempt at an insurgence into our capital? I mean, absolutely. Like the reason that the white male patriarchy has been allowed to live and oppress those who are not that in the world of work specifically is because it's always been taboo, right? It's taboo to can't disclose what you make for a salary. Well, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't want people feeling bad if like the company line was always such bullshit. And when you look at it, we only are hurting ourselves by not disclosing wages, as one very small example that companies have done to seek to oppress. And there are so many things right now in the world of work that are broken, that being one very, very tiny one. But one great example that everybody can understand, has everybody on this live right now has worked at an organization who in the handbook it says you may be terminated for disclosing your salary. Is that true? If you've done that, please put that. If you've heard that, if you've seen it, if you've had a handbook, throw something in that chat, because I know for a fact it's on handbooks everywhere. And who does that serve? And that's, again, one tiny example of how the workplace has just systemically oppressed everybody who's not a white man. And that's the reality of it. So yes, I 100% believe the things that happened last week, which were horrifying, by the way, are a direct result of the inability of some to have meaningful conversations around change. Change is scary. We get that. But change has to happen. And if you're opposed to it, you have to ask yourself, why, right? Why are you so opposed to other people just getting the same, not more than, not better than, not anything that's going to take away from you, just what you have? Why is that so scary?
Yeah, and that's important to me because now, I have 3 daughters now and 1 son, and I always think about the fact that women are the only ones that can make life. So it's kind of always bothered me, but more so now that I have daughters and my wife's, recovering from having a child, to think that the white patriarch will say what happens with that. And it's like, you have no say in a life being created. whatsoever. Like, it's not your body. You can't do that. So when anybody that stands up and fights for that, I love that, because it's just, it hasn't happened. It's always been like, well, don't be too loud. They'll call you bitchy. They'll call you mean. They'll call you this. Like, well, no, that's just reality. It should be equal. So there's somebody asked a question. We're talking about mental health a little bit. How would a leader, I think Stacey asked this question, how does a leader model good mental health behavior in this culture of even being remote or in person?
Yeah. Lead with authenticity, right? You're a person, and you should be a person first in the workplace. There are so many that are struggling with so much. You're potentially alone in your home. You don't live with anybody, so you don't have the interaction that you crave. You're somebody who's in a house in a terrible situation. There are so many different folks out there living amazingly different lives, all very complex, all one equally as heartbreaking as the next. And a little compassion can just go a long way. As a leader, letting your own vulnerability show, having your kids run in, it not being an issue if your hair is, wet and you have a sweatshirt on, lowering your expectations for the fact that, guess what? If you couldn't see me right now and I was just working from home, as we did sometimes, and we weren't on Zoom calls because this wasn't our norm, I would be in sweatpants and a wet bun, and I could still get my job done effectively. Now, I'm not going to show up to a job interview like that, right? But there's so much that we can do to just be empathetic with our own teams as leaders, hell, with each other as human beings, just to check in, to remind them that, you're not alone. I do a lot of mental health talk on my post within my show. It's really important to me to be open and vulnerable about the struggles that I face, because so many people find it so stigmatizing, and it has been so stigmatized for so long. If you remember, we used to put people in asylums for, too bad of headaches. So a lot of stigma that comes with talking about mental wellness and mental health, especially in the workplace. It wasn't that long ago where those sort of benefits started being included in plans instead of optional ones that companies had to pay extra for. You can imagine how that goes. You work in benefits. Right. you know the story. And a lot of companies still don't choose to invest in that regard, and some of them don't do it adequately. So the least we can do is give some grace and some courtesy and some just decent human beingness to each other in this time, to know that everybody is struggling and everybody's going through something. Maybe we could just choose kindness, instead of this isn't Facebook.
Right. And it's like the police of social media or LinkedIn. I don't use anything but LinkedIn and YouTube archives my show, but LinkedIn, I see people policing it. Like, this is not this is not that. And it's like, well, we should be able to have the most intelligent conversations here, because they always talk about the average person on LinkedIn has this much college education, this much income. So in my mind, I'm like, if people can't talk here, I don't know where they're going to have an intelligent, meaningful conversation, not just vent. And when you mentioned the taboo thing, I think about, pregnancy and childbirth. There's a lot of things they don't talk about with that. I mean, you have 7 kids. I'm sure there's a ton of things you learn, like, why didn't anybody tell me about this or about that? And I think now our generation likes the openness, just, hey, this is what's going to happen, versus this hiding it. And then we have so much postpartum and stress and all these things from hiding it. So the taboo stuff for me as a Black male was always talking about racism was taboo to talk about at work. And I remember one time we had a celebration for 2020. And they said, hey, let's dress up like the 20s. And I said, well, that wasn't a good time for my people. They're like, oh, come on. No, for real. The 20s is not a good time for Black people. So I don't want to put be a flappers and a dressed up like that, because that's not a good time for my people. And they got weird about it, but I'm like, that's just the truth. So not, dealing with that reality, I think is what you're here for, to bring that reality. So when you come to the workplace with these taboo things, how do people kind of peel back the layers lightly? Because they can't be you all the time. But what's like a light way to kind of bring it up to kind of start the conversation?
Yeah. There's so many things. And I like to talk about microaggressions, because that's one that's become a big buzzword. And a lot of people are hearing about it. And I think we can flip the script on that, which I call micro suggestions. So if I can told subtly, hey, Tara, after meeting me for now the 18th month I've worked there, and you still can't get my name right because you hate me and women and all the things. We won't go down that road, but it's all true. Go past that and to instead do micro suggestions. So that's something everybody can do, whether or not it's you that is being harassed or somebody you just know is, right? So if you notice that somebody is calling me, for example, Tara, repeatedly, and you know that my name is Tara, and you know that they've been told my name is Tara, and that other people have made comments around the fact that Tara is in fact my name, and they continue to just seemingly obviously continue to call me Tara as a form of control. That's all it is. As an ally, you have the opportunity, especially if you are like that person. And I'm not trying to put white men on blast, but frankly, a lot of you are the problem. And a lot of you have the power because so many are feminists. I know great white men in the world of work. Hello, I have one as a co-host and business partner right here with me who's a staunch feminist. So there's ways in which when you look like the type who are doing the aggressing, and that's pretty much the white men on this call, and even the men of color, because you hold a bit more clout in a lot of situations than even women do, to be able to use that camaraderie. I don't really know what it is, that whatever it is in this that you have that seemingly allows you to be able to communicate with people like that better.
Yeah.
Somebody like me, you can use your voice in small ways like that seem insignificant but are hugely meaningful, especially if you're in that sphere of influence. And let's be honest, we're all close to somebody who does stuff like that. We all have that one person, whether they're family and we just can't get rid of them, or there's somebody we went to school with and we just keep them on our social media for like shits and giggles. But we don't know that one person, right? But that's one person that you can potentially affect. And one way in a real and actionable thing you is my aunt and my uncle. Well, I would tell you that they're not actually racist. You know that my father is Black, my mother is white, I'm adopted. That's why I look the way that I do, just for clarity. And they're white from my mother's side, not racist, I wouldn't say, but supported Trump in the first election. So what I was curious about that was, you know, all the things everybody else did. I tried to explain with them and I chipped away little bit over time. And certainly he did enough himself. That's enough of my, hey, but have you thought about this? Or, but hey, when he says something like this, don't you know that that's talking about like dad? Or like, you know, when he's talking about grab him by the, you know what, that's me. That could be me that he's talking about. So like just these little ways in my sphere of influence, even in my personal life, you can do that in your professional life and your personal life too, and have some amazing results in making that change. Small ways are creating larger actions.
Yeah, and I want to bring into that real quick. Just a couple comments to catch up with my queen. It said, thank you for the thank you, my love. Then Stacey said she has 5, so she understands she's trying to catch up to you, I guess. And then my mother-in-law, she said, I love the introduction for my new grandbaby. You're one hell of a husband, father, and son-in-law. Thank you, G-Mom. She lets to go by G-Mom, but I call her Mama, though. Thank you, Mama. And then my aunt said, congratulations. Thank you, Aunt Tracy. And lastly, okay, we had a comment from Tracy. She works actually in social work. It's true most employers don't like employees to discuss their salaries. And then Stacey also said, what part of the work environment contributes to poor mental health? Now, this is where I was kind of going with this because I was thinking about what you're saying about these micro suggestions. That's where I started getting into fights on LinkedIn. I'll see somebody jump on a Black female's post and it's a white guy saying something crazy. I remember one of the worst ones was saying that when Ahmaud Arbery, no, not him. The guy that got shot here in Georgia at the Wendy's parking lot. His name escapes me right now. But it said, hey, you should fight in the. You say it again?
Oh, I just said I'm trying to think of it. It's like on the tip of my tongue. But
but they said you should fight in the courts, not in the streets. I'm like, he was intoxicated and feared for his life because he's intoxicated and he tried to walk home. So the guy's fighting the courts, not in the streets, and he just did all that. And when that happened, I snapped a little bit and I jump in like, come on, first you didn't have to be on this post, go away. Nobody asked you. But at the same time, it's hard, I think, for some people when I say I have the bullheadedness to fight some of those things, but some folks are like, hey, it's not my place. So do you think more of us need to kind of step into that fight of just saying, let me just jump in, as you said, with the allyship or being of the same gender or something? Should more of us do that or stay in our lane to preserve our mental health?
I think, whatever serves you in that moment. If you need to preserve your mental health, do that at all costs. That should be your first priority, like they say on airplanes, right? For your own face. But yes, like the bottom line of it is like, yeah, I think you should. If you feel comfortable and confident having those kinds of conversations, and that's in your sphere of influence, especially, and I hate to put it this way, but like if you're a white dude and there's a bunch of white dudes making, whatever comments toward whomever, you have a little bit more clout, clearly, than maybe somebody else would. Maybe they'll take you a little bit more seriously. Maybe they'll get that what they're doing isn't cool. You ostracize those people. That's how it eventually happens. Hopefully, you start making them go back into hiding. And it's not that you want them to hide. It's that you want them to understand that you're not superior here. And the fact that you think so just makes you sort of the minority. And sorry about it. Like, be a decent human being or get the fuck out of here. And I'm so sorry for your family. I didn't realize that they were on the call, and I hope they don't mind the F-bomb every your wife had a baby. So having had babies myself, I believe she probably has the good drugs and is resting comfortably and has heard an F-bomb or two. As a mother, I'm certain she said one. But as her mama on the phone or on this call, hello, and I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. They probably want to drop some bombs right now, being in the hospital for the past 2 days. So they probably want to drop a few bombs. So it's therapy for them. But when I think about that, I kind of think of the analogy of when you see somebody with spinach in their teeth or something. I guess it's kind of like, do I want to go tell them or not? Because some of this is self-realization. And like you mentioned, if you're the same something, gender, economic standing, something like that, maybe they'll listen. But at the same time, you're in HR, which HR, and you're not the HR lady though, but at the same time, people think that it's an HR thing to kind of help solve these issues, but it's kind of not. So kind of talk about how HR is evolving definitely in the last year.
Wow. So HR used to be the place where you went to get fired, turned in your paperwork and to get benefits and a paycheck, and who made sure that the company stayed out of trouble. And that's what I started. That's the HR I started in. Over the course, though, of the last 20 years, it's really evolved. And the space in the last 3 or 4 has dramatically changed. This year has, all that change aside, this year has done a number on change in the people space, because people are just realizing, organizations, executives, boards are realizing that there is an ROI with people, that there is a need for inclusivity and diversity of thought, that no longer are we going to tolerate and sweep under the rug and say, oh, that's just Chad, and the way he is. No, that's not okay. Chad is a harasser. And we're going to call it out. And the more people that are, I think, championing for just equity in the workplace, the more companies are realizing that they don't have as much power as they once thought they did. My perfect example, which I've given a couple of times and I'll give it again, is the power of our collective voice is no more evident in the easiest to understand terms than when Starbucks banned employees from wearing Black Lives Matter gear. And it wasn't a full 24 hours later before they had reversed course. Why did they do that? Because consumers, employees, people all over the world were like, no, that's not cool. Not cool at all. And we're going to boycott you. And they're like, you know what? Shit, they're going to hurt us in our pocketbook. And I want to say that they did the right thing, that they went in and they're like, you know what? We made a mistake. We shouldn't have done this. Da, 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 da. But the fact of the matter is, I come from the business world. I know that they looked at this and went, we're making a huge mistake here. We've already gotten bad publicity. If you remember several years back in the New York City incident that they had, and there's already been some bad press in that space. And so even more, and to have people call for a boycott when people are not fucking around anymore. Like, we call for a boycott, we are really boycotting you now. Like, we're not mincing words here anymore. And I've seen that time and time again. And like I said, not a full 24 hours before they change course. And that's what's happening with HR. Companies are realizing that there is a powerful voice and a storm of brewing in the people space. Why? Because we have been treated inequitably for a very, very long time. And that time has ended. Now we are going to demand that you consider other people in your plans for having diversity, that you don't have 5 white guys making those decisions.
Right.
Not just appointing the only Black person in your organization to run DEI. Like, that's not appropriate, not acceptable. We're not doing that. We're not tolerating it anymore. And companies, I think, are really getting on that bandwagon of HR is a strategic business partner, and there is an ROI with people. And
Absolutely.
the sooner they get on that tip, the better off they're going to be, and the better on the right side of history they're going to land on.
Yeah, it makes me think how, as they were debating at the second impeachment, and crazy to think one president got impeached twice in a year. But
we've seen now 3 impeachments in our lifetime.
Yeah, and 2 in 1 year.
Isn't that crazy?
But as the people that were defending Trump were getting up there talking about this cancel culture, they were like playing the victim. And it kind of bothers me to use, because cancel culture is just the youth's way of kind of saying, hey, we're not taking anything like this anymore. And it's kind of sad to see these grown men using this as a pity party for all the bad decisions they made. Like, oh, you guys can't just cancel us because we did some bad stuff. Like, no, it's been a lot of bad stuff. So as we kind of think about this evolution I think we're going through, because 2020 definitely was the worst year like ever. I think we're going through a great evolution of things of that nature. But when you talk about, somebody asked a question about LGBTQIA, all the different dealing with that, because I remember my first time being in a workspace with that, with a enrollment, I saw a person obviously transitioning, but I just politely said, hey, how do you identify? Now, this is my first time actually seeing somebody like that in person, but I didn't go like, crazy stuff like that. So as you think about a business that's happening more frequently, how do they kind of help make it easy if they say we've never had this happen before? What's kind of like a baseline for them to kind of get ready for, embracing that side of the world?
I think organizations right now really need to have a solid strategy surrounding people holistically. That includes DEIB. That includes, let me actually stop there. That includes DEIB from everything to how you attract employees and where you source, to your recruiting processes, to how you onboard, to whom you partner them with, to whose team they're on. Being really intentional about what you're doing related to your people strategy is like just absolutely vital. In the LGBTQIA plus community, if you don't have, and I'll say this for anything that you don't have experience with, if your organization or somebody in your organization does not have experience doing diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging work, please reach out. There are many consultants. I am one, but you don't have to come to me. Go to whomever. Find a person for you, for your organization, who can help you strategically build a plan around inclusivity and diversity and belonging for your organization. You cannot just pick a person of color or the one guy who has the crazy hair because he looks like he might be alternative. Like, don't start labeling people. Don't start making assumptions. Just reach out to an expert. That's what companies need to do. There's no baseline. If you don't have somebody who can do the work, meaning they've done this type of work before, not just lived experiences as a Black person, as a woman of color, as someone in the LGBTQ community, as a person of a certain age, as somebody with a disability. You can't just tap those people. Their lived experience isn't enough. There's actually work that's tangible in this space that needs to be done by real professionals. So I would encourage anybody who does not have this representation in their organizations to demand it, to ask your organization, do we have somebody championing this on behalf of all the marginalized groups in the company? Do we have somebody who knows how to do this work and is doing it? What does that look like? Question your organizations, ask for it, normalize talking about it in interviews, really make it a space that companies have no choice but to recognize there's so much diversity of not just skin color. And that's the one thing that a company tends to do. It's like, okay, who's the Black guy? We need to make it DEI. Like,
we're diverse now,
No, that's just, if you are, you're going to pay me. But then also I need to learn how to do the work if I've never done it. Like, there's so much more that just goes into it, which I know I don't have to say to you, but for everybody listening, push back, ask questions. inquire with your organizations. Most have anonymous ways to do that. Start making them think. Start having executives think about this stuff. The only way they're going to do it is by bringing it up. You don't have to be a jerk about it, but you can anonymously or kindly just say, hey, what are we doing in this space? Do our benefits include those for the transgendered community? Are there options available and coverage available for people who, obviously state dependent, but there's still some stuff with benefits. If I have a domestic partner, like, what does that look like? The more we ask for, the more we will get.
And as you telling that story, I was thinking about, I think this starts in school, honestly, because they'll do like the cultural day and they'll say, oh, he must know because he's Indian. He's like, I was born in Brooklyn. I don't know a thing about Diwali or anything like that. And I think it starts at school, this classification of you must know it because you're part of that life. And we never quite grew out of it. So for you, you obviously mentioned your upbringing, your adopted Black father, white mother. Do you think that had a huge impact on the way you see the world as far as your upbringing?
I do. I really do. I think it's an interesting journey to be a light-skinned, light-eyed, light-haired woman who lived that as my life. That's the person that I am. But I certainly had a very unique upbringing without having, the parents that look like me too, having a Black father in the 80s and 90s in a mostly white Orange County, California area. Gave me a different perspective because I didn't just see one side of the curtain, right? I lived on the other side of the curtain, and that's my reality. So having had experiences of racism with police, I wrote about my brother and I being pulled over, to having, my father called the N-word more times in front of me, so that I'm almost desensitized to it. And there's a lot, I think, that is absolutely fundamentally instilled in me, that you fight for people. And I won't use, because it's a obviously not appropriate framing of it. But I really believed when I was younger that I just didn't see color. Like my dad, I gravitated, I would say, toward the Black community, which always accepted us better than the white community did, especially where we did. So like, we had so much more acceptance that in a very early age, I developed a really strong affinity and attachment for the Black community. Therefore, I identify so closely with the Black community, but I have never lived in Black skin. So I don't pretend to have, but I certainly feel like I have a different perspective than most people who have my appearance.
Yeah, that definitely helps your communication style, because that rawness is definitely of the Black culture. Like, I'm just gonna say what it is.
We just don't have time for it. Like, that's what my dad would always say. Like, my dad was kind and empathetic and just the most wonderful person. I miss him every single day. He died 4 years ago, and he's never too far away. But he instilled in me that you have to be clear and never mince your words, and also we just don't have time for games. Say what it is and call things out, and be an advocate and a staunch supporter for human beings, because human beings look very different and have a lot of different skills. And if we all look the same, how boring would things be?
Yeah, this is what I was going to go back to with all the racial issues we're having now. Kind of, I think when the tipping point was when the two young men got shot in Portland, I believe it was, when they got shot, the white guys. And I've been saying, like, if these people can hate Black people this much, it's just going to be whoever they don't like is going to be the target, if you just don't agree with them. So yes, there's a racial point to it, but it's really just, I don't agree with your style of life and who you are. And if it's another white guy that doesn't agree with that life, they'll kill them too. And I've been saying this for a long time, like, it's going to spread to other people, then they'll get it. Now, unfortunately, people kind of see it, because with the Capitol uprising, they're like, oh, these people are crazy and they lost it. Oh, it isn't just Black. We didn't think it was just them. And it's just been, it's kind of like this slap your head moment the past 4 years, because if we've been seeing this happening forever, like, dude, these people are racist. Like, a lot of them are racist. No, they just want to support the Second Amendment. Nah, it's a racist. So when you, as somebody that's kind of on both sides of the fence, do you find yourself having to correct people in the HR space or even just in your personal life? I know you mentioned your white side of the family, but like in the business space, you had to correct a lot of people on their views.
Yeah, I mean, like, let me just stop you right here. Do I have to correct a lot of people in the business space? I absolutely do. When it comes to what plans are, right? For your question was about, are we on the right path for, racial diversity and in the workforce, I assume. I would love to be, and so many of us know how to help companies get there. I worry that, with a new administration, certainly I'm not sad to see the old one go, obviously, but with the new administration, that we're going to talk less and less and less about it. And so that's why I think in business right now, it's so important for us to continue the momentum, to continue using our voices. If we're comfortable with the way things were, with people we love, care about, work with, find brilliant, if we're comfortable with them continuing to be paid less, to not get jobs, to be overlooked because of what they look like or a disability that they might have, or, who they love, that would be a damn shame. So I really would encourage, and I hope that we're on the right path. I think that we're talking about it certainly loudly, and I know that companies want to do the right thing. I just hope that this is the real right, we're going to do it this time moment, where we don't stop the train, that the train keeps going until everything is at least a little bit more correct, because it honestly can't get a lot less correct than it is right now. Everything is pretty correct.
Well, speaking of that, Kim Freeman had a good comment where it might be getting less in some regards. She said, "Preach, I had to call an older white man at his retirement luncheon when he said with a leer that one of the female associates could sit on his lap. Afterward, HR said, that's just how he is." So this is HR saying that's just how he is. Unfortunately, general counsel at the time, I had the power to say not anymore. So this, and I've heard this phrase before, that's just so-and-so, that's just this person. That's like the biggest enabling, like if somebody's a rapist, oh yeah, he's just a rapist. Is this okay? But maybe it's not getting better, but I think now we have camera phones, we have social media, people screenshot all the time when people say racist stuff on LinkedIn, and hey, this person works at the company. So I hear you saying it can't get any worse, but do you think we're at the BandAid part right now?
Yeah, I think we're at the BandAid part on our way to, I hope, systemic change, right? Like that's what we're solving for. But right now, yeah, I think there's a lot of band-aiding. I think there's a lot of PR and not a lot of DEI. I think that, organizations recognize that people are going to demand different things and that they are going to have to do better. And I think they're scrambling to figure out what that looks like. What I would encourage organizations to do is to look at any number of case studies, or once again, hire somebody who knows how to do this work, and your ROI of people. You can have a return on investment when you have a solid people strategy that aligns with not only the values and the goals and the objectives of your business, but with the kind of business you want to be that aligns with your culture. And if your culture isn't what you want it to be, that could align with your culture. You just have to figure out what that looks like. There's so many chances right now for companies to do the right thing. And I'm hopeful that they will, but I think a lot of it, to your point, is band-aided. I think a lot of it is PR and not a lot of action. And that's the point we're on next, is that we need action. Yeah,
I agree. Because there's the dichotomy that, you've seen this with your father, obviously, and I appreciate him raising such a wonderful daughter. That dichotomy, the world wants to copy you, but they hate you at the same time.
Right.
People don't seem to understand that all the time with the black person's plight, but I see it all the time. I look at commercials would be so boring without black people. And because I just think about in the 50s and things that way before. So it's this dichotomy we have to go through as a people, that the world loves us in pop culture, but not in the boardroom. And go ahead.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I don't know where you're going with it, but I want to go back to it if you're going to go somewhere else, because I was just talking about that. Like the fact that, the Black community specifically has always been accepted. Well, not always, but for a very much longer time than the boardroom, in the entertainment space. And that's just, that's so interesting to me. And I don't know where you were going with that, but I'd love to dive into that. Maybe not now, but a different time, on the different ways that we view people and our interpretation of what we believe they should be contributing and what we want them to contribute versus what they are interested in contributing to you.
Yeah,
And
I mean, football is a prime example of that. When they say shut up and stop kneeling and just play football, stop,
exactly.
dribble the ball. But yeah, that's basically I guess we get these Grammys and awards and all this stuff. As soon as you say something political, oh, you should be happier in America. You wouldn't have any of this opportunity if you wasn't here. And it's this dichotomy we deal with as a people that we can still say things are right, just like the white guy says it. He should be able to say it just like I am. But it's just this problem that it's always been for Black people, like, well, just be happy you got it. And I feel like celebrities are in this pinch that they're like, I'm a multimillionaire and they can't say anything. I mean, people got a Michael Jordan for a long time. And I think he was in that place for a long time. Like, well, I'm going to make stuff behind the scenes because I'm not trying to rock the boat. And he said, I'm not really like a leader. I'm not really a role model. But at the same time, when he's in quiet corners by himself, he probably was thinking, man, these people are going to rip me to shreds and take what I have. So as we kind of go into this new phase that Trump's gone, but Trumpism isn't gone. There's more people going into leadership in, women, especially. I mean, women show it out definitely politically. Now that this is all here, how do we deal with this? You should be happy you're there. That's going to happen from the white male, the waspy white woman. How are we going to deal with that phase of people saying, well, they should be happy they're a senator. They should be happy they're a House of Representatives person. They should be happy they're the CEO. How do we kind of help that as the people that are not in those seats help to champion that message that that's not right?
You say it. I mean, you say it. You call out the bullshit. That's not the woman from Michigan. That is Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Like that, you call it back. You know. Look at Ruth Bader Ginsburg said it best, which is how many women should there be in the Supreme Court, and she said 9.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. I mean, that's the end of the story, because there's this beautiful, interesting juxtaposition of, but it was just all white dudes for ever, and you guys were fine with that. Why is it so absurd to imagine that 9 women of very diverse backgrounds could be on the Supreme? Like, it's crazy that it's like your point.
It's terrifying to them.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying. But I think it doesn't mean there's not space for everybody to win. Nobody is trying to take jobs away from other people. If there are 4 white men at the table, we're not asking all 4 white men to get up and give up their seats. Nobody's asking for that. We're saying make more seats at the goddamn table. Make room for people with diverse experiences. You can afford a couple $100,000 salary to ensure that your organization isn't just doing things that's going to affect one demographic. Hello, let's just take a quick marketing moment. Every company has a marketing team, right? If your whole company is full of the same type of person, let's just say all white men, and your product is not marketed exclusively to white men alone, do you think you would have a better outcome if potentially you had representation from the other demographics that buy your shit? Mm-hmm. Yes. The answer is definitely yes, right? So why you wouldn't consider that you could make more money should you just have a little bit more diversity in your group who have different lived experiences, who can aid you in saying, yeah, but have you thought about this? Because, in my experience, and that experience is going to be wildly different than the country club.
Right. Yeah, I think even at the same time, if you can't expand the seats, at least the people that are in the seats should be open-minded to learn. Because you're going to say, well, no, this is just the way I have to do everything. I mean, that's the worst thing you can say in business. This is the way we've always done it. Sure. And I agree that more seats, or at least more depth to the seats. We'll say that. Yes.
Yes.
I know you're going to jump on something else soon, but I want to talk about the book. I know you mentioned you got a book out now. Let's talk about that for the people that have not heard about it.
Yes, it's actually, we pushed it just a little bit. I had some family challenges, which I know you know about. I'm not sure if your viewers do, but I ended up with diverticulitis and in the hospital for 4 days. And then if that wasn't enough, just shortly before that, my mom was diagnosed with a stage 4 terminal sarcoma. And so we pushed a little business.
How's she doing now, by the way? I know you said you had a visit that went well, but how is she since then?
So she had her first surgery for the sarcoma and had it removed.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they didn't get enough margin. So there's a second surgery that's going to have to happen now, and then we'll do 10 weeks of radiation. But it's looking great. Thankfully, the sarcoma
good.
external, it has not metastasized. But in its crazy twist of fate, and this is why you should take this virus so seriously, which I know we haven't talked about, but 3 of my mom's doctors, her oncologist, her I can't say the word right now. Her surgeon, that's a cancer surgeon, and her plastic surgeon all got COVID.
Oh my gosh.
So they ended up having to push her surgery, push her radiation, and it's aggressive sarcoma. So a little scary, but she's doing fine. She's here. She's at the house and relaxing. Hopefully she does not relax very well, but she's doing great.
So tell them about the book. I'm gonna put the website up here so they can learn more about the book.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please. So I pushed the book date a little bit. I would love for you guys to check it out. It is called Fuck Your Office Snack. It is a book all about discovering your worth, and it's sort of a history of how we got to the place we are. If you remember, and maybe you don't, so let me paint a quick picture. There used to be a time where households could live on one income, that companies had pensions and, really robust financial benefits for employees. And that really changed. I talk a little bit about that in the book. And I sort of talk about holding yourself accountable for taking less money, not negotiating for your own worth in lieu of these ancillary benefits. Now, I know I'm on with a benefits guy, but you deal with the important benefits, the things that people need. I could get into an entire diatribe about what's wrong with the medical system in America, but that's
I'm with you on that. An interesting thing, just not to cut you off, but just I don't actually want to get paid for health insurance. Like, I'm one of the few insurance people you'll meet that I just advise on health insurance. I never get paid a penny for it just because of the model of it is horrible to me. So I agree with you.
Yeah, it's absolutely just abysmal, right? So there are so many things that we've done. And I think a lot of it had to do, and I'm not trying to place blame, but a lot of the .com had this really new and exciting office snacks, slides, in-house doctors, lots of coffee, all the Monster energy drinks you could possibly have, on tap beer and all this fun at the expense of software developers taking wildly lower salaries. And then that being able to, once you accept a salary with an organization, everybody knows this, you're never going to get where you want to be. You're always going to be climbing that ladder because guess what? 3%, that's all you're going to get. All we've budgeted for, that's a different conversation. I think budgeting for performance reviews is sort of stupid, especially if your company's profitable, but I digress. Having a real opportunity to take a self-look and a self-examination on where maybe you have opportunities to stop giving away your talents at a lower price, to stop giving away things for intangibles. Because I'll ask anybody who took a job at any place that had a mega campus and offered you 3 free meals a day and healthcare and sleep pods and things like that. How's that working out for you for the last year?
Yeah. Blame Google for that one.
Did they give you 25 grand bonus, like as a salary bump to cover all of those things you're not receiving? Probably not. So really thinking about your financial future when you're considering your worth in the world of work. That's really what the book is about. And then because it wouldn't be me if I didn't do something crazy, every chapter is mansplained by my co-host and partner, Justin Dock. So in case you just want to read the Cliff's Notes mansplained version of it, you can get the highlights in a tiny box at the end of every chapter during Mansplaining with Justin.
I know my wife is loving that because I'll do that and she'll be like, stop mansplaining it. And I'm just like, I'm just operational. I just want to get to the meat and potatoes of it. So thank your co-host for mansplaining it because then what's the point? Let's get this done. I get it. Last thing is, Kim said best title for a book ever. I agree for that.
Thanks,
and then Lumity on YouTube said the U.S. healthcare system is murky for employees and their people. Yes, I can't stand it. My mind changed around healthcare and getting paid for when a cancer patient called me on the deadline for Obamacare and said if she doesn't get insurance, she's going to die because they won't do the surgery without insurance. So from that point forward, I said I don't want to get paid for health insurance. So I agree. I'm probably one of the few insurance people you'll meet that says that. But Tara, this has been great. I know you're gonna jump on something else soon, folks. Please tell people where to find you. We got the website below, but anywhere else they want to find you, because we got folks on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. You can please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's just Not the HR Lady. You can find me on Instagram at Tara Not the HR Lady, Twitter at Tara Furiani, LinkedIn at Not the HR Lady, and I'm connected, of course, to a lot of folks. So I'm sure I might be connected to somebody you know. I hope, and I'd certainly love to connect with you. Check out our book. We have a learning community as well, and then season 2 of our show drops on the 27th of January, which is sponsored by Exec Wranglers. And we're really excited to dive into, again, all things people and no bullshit. We're going to have a great second season, lots of surprise guests, lots of fun, a really exciting 13 episodes. So I'll hope that everybody will join us. You can find more information about it at notthehrlady.com.
And Lucy said, now I need the book.
Yeah.
Kim also mentioned I get plenty of mansplaining in real life. So wait, okay, so she's skipping that page. She won't read that page. So a few pages of the book she won't read, full disclosure. But thank you, folks. Yeah, read Tara's part, not her co-host part. But thank you, folks. Again, please be safe. I don't have to talk about voting like I usually do since all the elections are done. So I appreciate everybody participating in democracy. But please be safe. Georgia's going through record numbers with COVID-19. So it's not time to go barbecue and tailgate. Please be safe and do the sensible things. And tell somebody else that doesn't know about it. If they don't understand science, help them understand, because the only way we get this thing better if we all treat public health like a public thing. I want to do one last time my announcement before I get out of here, because my dad came on late and he didn't get to see the video. So hold on one quick second, Tara.
Yeah.
One more time for the people that were late. All right. Well, thank you, folks. Tara, I know you got to go. I appreciate your time. Folks, this is on replay on YouTube. If you want to show anybody you know to share the video with them, and we will catch you next time on Business with Benefits.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.